The Red Raiders have recently shown interest in a big-time portal talent. Who is it? We'll discuss his skill set and his potential fit with the Red Raiders in today's video, as well as much, much more. Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's RC Maxfield here for the Back to 12 podcast. And if you like these transfer portal updates, and really if you like what Texas Tech has done in the transfer portal so far, they're not done yet, people. All I ask you to do is like the video and hit that subscribe button to stay in the know on everything Texas Tech men's basketball all year long, whether it's on the hardwood or in the transfer portal. We've got you covered right here on the largest group of Texas Tech fans on YouTube in the Back to 12 podcast channel. All right. Before we get into who this is, I want to preface something, because if you've watched this channel, you know how I feel about Kevin Overton, okay? Kevin Overton has been my favorite portal target for the Red Raiders in this portal cycle in terms of the guard or wing position. That has changed massively. Let's get into it. All right. His name is Jaylen Wells from Washington State. He is 6'8", 205, averaged nearly 13 points per game last year for the Cougars, nearly 5 rebounds, had 1.2 assists as a sophomore. He shot 41.7% from three on 5 attempts per game. I will repeat that, 41.7% from three on 5 3-point attempts on average per game. He is an absolute sniper. And we're going to get into his synergy numbers here in a minute because they are eye-popping. I mean, maybe the craziest synergy sheet I've seen in terms of a Texas Tech portal target this cycle. Okay, but let's lay some groundwork here. He is a lights-out shooter, as I mentioned, but he is in the NBA draft combine as it stands right now. In terms of the process of going through that, he was an invitee. He will go to Chicago and work out for NBA teams. That said, he is a native of Sacramento, California. If you pay attention to Texas Tech, and maybe you saw the thumbnail, you could argue that the Texas Tech Red Raiders' best player is from Sacramento, California, in D5, Darrion Williams. And yes, they do know each other. They actually played AAU basketball with one another, and their families are reportedly very, very close. Now, J-Dub also knows another Red Raider, Chance McMillian. So he's got ties there. Again, close with the family as D5. Chance McMillian knows him as well. Texas Tech has a little bit of an in right there on the recruiting trail. You might ask yourself, RC, is he worth it in terms of those stats and everything? Buckle up, because this synergy sheet is crazy. Okay, we're going to start out with the big one. He ranked 99th percentile on spot-up shots last year as a sophomore. You legitimately can't get better than that, people. 99th percentile nationally. Stud. He also ranked 91st percentile nationally on jump shots. 89th percentile off the dribble shots. And oh, by the way, on contested jumpers, well, he ranked 90th percentile, okay? And 71st percentile on unguarded shots, which is very good according to Synergy. Now, he does other things in terms of the catch and shoot off the dribble. As I mentioned, when it comes to catch and shoot, he ranks 89th percentile, off the dribble 89th percentile. And oh, by the way, maybe his most important trait in terms of why Texas Tech may be interested in him, outside of, well, he's 6'8", athletic, and has real NBA potential, he is really good for his size as a primary ball handler in the pick and roll. And don't believe me if you don't want to, but the numbers don't lie here. As the primary ball handler, who, for a guy that is 6'8", 205 that we just mentioned, he is 91st percentile nationally as the primary ball handler in a pick and roll. Just stud type stuff. Oh, by the way, he's a really good cutter as well, ranked 75th percentile, when it comes to being a cutter on the offensive end, has a high basketball IQ, and is switchable on defense. He can guard 1 through 4. His length and his quickness allows him to do so. And you can see there's some really solid highlights of him on the defensive end where he wreaks havoc on smaller guards, okay? Would I want him guarding a 4? Maybe not, but I do think he can do it. That being said, when it comes to his potential and what I see in terms of if he were to go to Texas Tech, and that's a big if right now. Texas Tech has sizable interest, and shout out to Austin Massey over on the Scarlet and Black Insider. He was the first one in the Texas Tech space to say that Texas Tech has interest in Jaylen Wells. And by the way, you can go check out the Scarlet and Black Insider down in the description and comment below. The link will be there. But my opinion on Wells, y'all know how I feel about Kevin Overton, okay? I think he's a little bit more of a project, but all the skills are there, okay? I think Wells from day one is an all-conference Big 12 type player. He's that good. And he's a guy that can score in a multitude of ways. I just mentioned it. Off the dribble, he ranks 89th percentile. Catch and shoot, 89th percentile. Ranked 91st percentile nationally on jump shots. 99th percentile on spot-up shots. Oh, by the way, he can score off the dribble in the pick and roll too. But the most intriguing aspect of his game when I watch it is the fact that when he touches the ball, he is ready to shoot at all times. And I am just having crazy dreams and thoughts about the fact that you could have Elijah Hawkins, arguably the best passer in the Big 12, one of the best passers in the country. That's not a debate. That's an unequivocal fact when you look at the data and just watch the film. Be his point guard and have the opportunity for a guy like Wells to find space. In my opinion, if he came to Texas Tech, I legitimately could see him being an NBA first-round pick after a year with the Red Raiders. He's that kind of guy. I can't help but think about a lineup on the floor. We don't know who the 5 will be, but you plug Wells into the 4 spot, and you have Wells, D5, then you got Chance or Overton at the 2 with Elijah Hawkins. I mean, bona fide top 25 level stuff right there. And we don't even know who the 5 is in this situation. But watching his film, I have not been more just glued to the TV, looking at every metric I possibly can, trying to find a flaw, at least on the offensive end. And there really isn't any. I guess you could argue that he's not that great of a passer. But in my opinion, he is one of those ones in terms of he's up there with great in terms of guys that I want to see Texas Tech land. He's up there with JT Toppin, right? He's up there with those kind of guys. He's that level of an impact guy in terms of plug and play in an all Big 12 type talent. That's how excited I am about him potentially being in the Scarlet and Black. And I will say this, it is a long way away, it seems like, in terms of his recruitment process. But remember, as I mentioned, Sacramento, California native, very close to D5. His families are close as well. They played AAU together, and he's close to Chance McMillian. There is a spot in terms of a clear need for the Red Raiders. And let's face it, the Red Raiders aren't short for cash right now when it comes to NIL. So the name to watch is Jaylen Wells from Washington State, a 6'8", 205 wing, averaged just under 13 points per game last year for the Cougars up there in Pullman. Averaged 4.6 rebounds, 1.2 assists, and shot 41.7% from 3 on 5 3-point attempts per game on average. Unequivocal stuff. I mean, just absolutely insane type stuff. He is the latest portal target for the Red Raiders. And again, he is in the NBA draft combine process right now. So this might take a little bit, but Texas Tech is firmly in the mix if he does decide to come back to college basketball. All right, I'm RC Maxfield. That's going to do it for today's video. If you haven't already, be sure to like the video, hit that subscribe button, and turn on that notification bell to stay in the know on all things Texas Tech men's basketball all year long right here on the largest group of Texas Tech fans on YouTube in the Back to 12 podcast channel.